Before I tell you what happened, I need one thing from you. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know in the comments which city you're listening from. That way, I can see how far my story has traveled. My name is Marin Keller. I'm 30 years old, and the day my parents' will was read, I discovered what they truly thought I was worth. The room was quiet, too quiet, as the lawyer read through the estate details. His voice calm and clinical, like he'd done this 100 times. Probably had. Everything went to my older brother, Damien. The lake house, the luxury vehicles, the controlling stake in Keller and Finch investments, the multiple bank accounts that added up to a fortune I couldn't earn in 10 lifetimes. Damien leaned back in his chair like he'd just won an auction for the crown jewels. That smug smile, the same one he'd worn since we were kids, barely moved. But I felt it, like a slap. Then the attorney paused, cleared his throat, and to our daughter, Marin, my heart actually skipped. I sat up straighter. Maybe there was something left. A note, a corner of land, a little apartment, anything. We leave the painting titled Ocean's Whisper from Elaine's home office. That was it. No equity, no real estate, no cash, just a painting. A blue-toned abstract that everyone always ignored, except for my mother. She used to stare at it for hours when she was supposed to be sleeping. Damien didn't bother hiding the grin this time. "Guess that's your masterpiece," he said, low enough that only I and the attorney heard. His voice was thick with sarcasm, like he just told a joke and I was the punchline. The lawyer didn't say anything. He just pushed a slim envelope toward me. I was told I had a few days to collect the artwork before the estate transfer was finalized. So I nodded, smiled like my heart wasn't breaking. And I said, "Okay." I walked out of that office with empty hands and a mind full of questions. Everyone thought they'd left me nothing. But they were wrong. That painting, that forgotten canvas, it wasn't nothing. It was a secret, one so explosive it would have my entire family pounding at my door, begging me to give it back. What would you do if your family left you with nothing but a strange painting? Would you walk away or dig deeper? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm reading them all. The next morning, I went to retrieve Ocean's Whisper. I thought I was picking up the last scrap of my mother's memory. Instead, I was stepping into a mystery she'd spent her last years trying to protect. The next morning, I drove out to my parents' estate in a chipped, humming electric sedan. The same car my brother's firm technically owned. The same one he let me borrow, like it was an act of mercy. The security gate scanned my license plate and slid open with its familiar mechanical sigh, a sound that used to feel like welcome, but now just whispered, "You don't belong here anymore." Inside, the house was pristine, like it had already forgotten us. Fresh-cut flowers in the foyer, polished stone floors gleaming under the chandelier. No trace of the medical beds or pill bottles that had cluttered every hallway during those last few months. No evidence of goodbye, just shine and silence, except for one thing. "Elena!" I called gently. She appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel, just like she had since I was 10. Her face crumpled when she saw me. "Marin," she whispered, rushing forward. "Ah, mi cielo!" Her arms wrapped around me before I could speak. "I saw what they left you. It's not fair. Your mother would." She stopped herself. Her eyes flicked upstairs where boxes were already stacked against the banister. Movers' tape crisscrossed over the name Keller like it was just another label. "She'd be heartbroken to see this," Elena finished. I wanted to say something clever, something strong, but the words got caught. "I'm just here for the painting," I finally managed. Ocean's Whisper. At the name, something flickered across Elena's face. A shadow. But she nodded. "She loved that painting," she said as we walked down the familiar hall toward my mom's office. The last year, she'd sit in front of it for hours, sometimes talking to herself. Phrases like, "Tides are shifting," or "It's almost ready." I thought maybe it was the medication. Or grief. The office door was half closed, just like Mom used to leave it when she was deep in thought. The bookshelves were half empty. The desk cleared off, but the painting remained. It hung on the wall above where her monitors used to glow deep into the night. Ocean's Whisper. It looked different now. Bigger. The blues darker, the brush stroke sharper. Up close, The patterns weren't just brush strokes, they were deliberate, grid-like. My designer brain clicked into alert. These weren't just waves. They were data. Heat maps. Geometric rhythm. She'd just stare at it sometimes. Elena murmured behind me. Like she was listening. I reached up and took it down. It was heavier than I remembered. Solid. My arms trembled as I carried it back through the house, my childhood echoing in the hallways like ghosts. Outside, the sun hit my face, and I glanced back at the house. The one that now belonged to Damien. The one he said I wasn't even good enough to inherit a doormat from. I set the painting gently in the back seat, just as my phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. This is Logan. Let's talk about your future. I can get you a small role at the firm. Family discount. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just an offer like I was a broken piece of furniture they wanted to repurpose. I locked the screen. Didn't reply. Drove back to my tiny apartment on the east side of the city. My safe little loft that still smelled like printer ink and burnt coffee. I propped Ocean's whisper on the floor across from my desk. Turned on the lights. And under the bright LEDs, something strange happened. The painting changed. The blues and grays splintered under the light. Tiny patterns emerged. Shapes and lines that didn't make sense until they did. Until my fingers twitched for a stylus. I stared and stared. Searched the artist's name in the corner. Nothing. Dead links. A closed gallery in Nevada. No social media. No articles. Like the artist had only existed long enough to paint this one thing, and then vanished. On a whim, I aimed my phone's QR reader at the painting. Just to be funny. Just to say I tried. Nothing. But I couldn't stop staring. Because for the first time since the will was read, I didn't feel empty. I felt curious. My mother hadn't left me nothing. She'd left me a key. I just hadn't figured out how to turn it yet. Have you ever been given something that didn't look valuable, until it revealed a deeper meaning? Share it in the comments. I want to hear your stories. Later that night, I turned off the lights, picked up my UV flashlight from the drawer, and aimed it at the painting. What appeared under the surface nearly stopped my heart. It was past midnight when I finally stopped pretending to work. My laptop glowed with unread emails, half-finished designs, a deadline I couldn't care less about. Because across the room, Ocean's whisper pulsed under the LED lights like it was daring me to look again. I'd been staring at that painting more than my screen for hours. The apartment was quiet, the kind of quiet that presses against your skin. The AC made its usual tired rattle. A car passed outside, headlights sliding across the wall like ghosts. And the painting caught the light. Not like art, like code. I reached into my desk drawer and pulled out the small UV flashlight I used to check security features on print samples. Turned it over in my hand. My heart hiccuped. Then, without thinking, I turned off the overhead lights. The room fell into shadow, except for the purple beam of UV and the soft blue light from my laptop. I aimed it at the canvas. Nothing. I moved closer, tilted the light. Slower, more careful. And then, something. Thin glowing lines, faint like old scars, veins running across the surface. My breath caught. I swept the light again. This time, more lines bloomed. A shape, a break, a pattern, a square. Then another. My brain kicked into high gear. Designer mode, puzzle mode. Not waves, not random. This was a code block. My hands shook. Under UV light, the darkest parts of the painting revealed a fragmented QR code. But not printed. Painted. Meticulously. Like someone had spent months hiding a digital map in the one place no one would look art. I scrambled for my phone. Opened the scanner app again. Held my breath. This time, I moved slowly. Focused on the sections lit by UV. Adjusted the angle, the distance. The app lagged. Spinning circle. Spinning. My pulse roared in my ears. Then ding. A link appeared, but not a joke site. Not spam. A secure banking portal. One I recognized. One my mother used to whisper about in passing, the way people mention Swiss accounts in spy thrillers. It wasn't open to the public. I tapped it. A login screen appeared, with my email address already filled in. Like it had been waiting for me. Below it, secondary key required. I stared. What key? My eyes drifted to the painting. The back of the frame. My fingers moved on instinct. I flipped it over. Ran my hands along the wood. One side felt heavier. Different. I dug my nails into a seam. Crack. A hidden panel popped loose. Inside, an envelope. Yellowed. My name written in my mother's looping handwriting. I stopped breathing. I just held it, like it might disappear if I moved too fast. Then I opened it. Marin, if you're reading this, I wasn't brave enough to tell you everything while I was still here. I began to weep before I even reached the second paragraph. She laid it out in her own words. How she discovered years ago that Dad and Damien had twisted her algorithms, turned them into tools for fraud, moved money offshore, manipulated markets, lied to the very people who trusted them. She wanted to go public, but she didn't have enough proof. So, she created her own trail. The painting wasn't sentimental. It was strategic. And the secondary key. It was a phrase, one she used to whisper to me when I felt like quitting, when I cried over math problems, or being the quiet one in a family of thunderous ambition. I could almost hear her voice. I whispered the phrase aloud, voice trembling, and typed it in. The portal opened, and what I saw made my stomach twist. Files, spreadsheets, shell companies, wire transfers routed through tax havens, and one trust account in my name, quietly funded over the years. Money she pulled out piece by piece. Money she claimed was earned before everything went wrong. Clean. Traced. At the end of the letter, she wrote, "Your father thought you were too soft. Your brother thought you were too small. But you see patterns they never will. That's why the key is yours." I sat back, shaking, clutching the frame of Ocean's whisper like it might float me above the storm. And then, bang. Someone knocked. Not a neighbor knock. A demand. Then again, harder. I flinched. And then his voice. "Damien. Marin, open the door." Behind him, a sharper, angrier voice cut through. "Aunt Meredith, we know you have it. Give it back now." I froze. They shouldn't know I picked up the painting yet. I hadn't told anyone where I lived. Unless. I turned to the window. The car. The company car. Of course they tracked it. Of course. My phone buzzed. "Damien, don't be stupid. That painting belongs to the firm. Give it back and we can make this go away." I backed away from the door. My chest heaved. On the laptop screen, the files glowed like a confession. Like the truth finally had form. Outside, my family pounded harder. Voices shouting. They didn't want the painting. They wanted to bury the proof. And I was the only one holding it. If someone gave you a secret that could ruin your family's legacy, but might save others from being hurt, what would you do? Tell me honestly in the comments. I'm listening. That night I didn't sleep. I stayed on the floor, holding the painting like a shield, while outside my family hunted for the truth they tried so hard to bury. I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a second. I sat on the floor with Ocean's whisper propped in front of me like a shield and my laptop casting its ghostly glow across the room. My fingers trembled as I downloaded everything. Every spreadsheet, every email chain, every contract my mother had hidden in that portal. I zipped them into an encrypted file with a password only I would ever know. Then I uploaded backups. Multiple clouds. Multiple aliases. Just in case. When that was done, I messaged the one person my mother said she trusted. "Mr. Reed, this is Marin. I found what she left me." His reply came so fast it made my stomach twist. "Do not share those files with anyone else. Can you talk on a secure line?" 15 minutes later, I was curled on the kitchen floor, phone pressed to my ear, heart pounding like a warning drum. "Marin," Jonathan Reed said, voice calm but clipped. "Tell me everything." So I did. The painting. The QR code. The trust. The files. The pounding on the door. Damien. Meredith. The GPS in the sedan. He listened without interrupting. Then exhaled slowly. "Your mother came to me months ago," he said. "She gave me a portion of the records. She told me she feared what your father and brother were doing, but she couldn't act alone. She believed you were the only one who could finish what she started." My throat closed. "You knew." "Not the details," he said, "but enough to prepare. Enough to protect you legally when the time came." Now you need to listen carefully. I braced myself. First, get out of that apartment. Right now. It's compromised. My eyes flicked toward the door. Second, find legal counsel. Someone clean. Someone not connected to your family, your father's firm, anyone they could reach. I can send you names. But you need to move. Now. We hung up. I didn't change clothes. Didn't brush my hair. I shoved my laptop into my bag, grabbed the external drive, wrapped Ocean's Whisper in an old blanket, and moved like a shadow through the apartment. The hallway outside my door was quiet, but I could still feel the vibration of their fists from hours ago. The elevator felt like a trap. I took the stairs. In the parking lot, the company's sedan sat beneath the flickering streetlight like bait. No. I opened a rideshare app instead and booked a car. I stood at the curb, gripping the wrapped painting in my arms like a lifeline until a dented hatchback pulled up. The driver blinked at me through the mirror. "Moving day?" he asked. I gave him the tiniest smile. Something like that. I had him drop me 3 blocks away, at a 24-hour coffee shop that smelled like burnt espresso and old sugar. I took a booth in the back, set the painting beside me, opened my laptop again, and started searching. Tax fraud attorney. Independent. Austin. Urgent. Confidential. I found a firm. Small. Scrappy. Smart. With a managing partner named Dana Harris, who had a reputation for cutting through corporate smokescreens like a scalpel. I filled out their emergency contact form. Whistleblower. Investment firm. Evidence in hand. Please contact me ASAP. While I waited, my phone buzzed again. Not Damien. Elena. My heart twisted. I answered. Her voice was a whisper, thick with emotion. "You okay?" she asked. No greeting. No pretense. "I'm safe," I said. My voice cracked. "For now." "They tore apart your mother's office," she said quickly. "Damien. Meredith. Files everywhere. Yelling about a painting. Asking if I'd seen you. Said you were confused. That you might misunderstand something you found." She paused. "Marin, they're scared." Something cold and powerful settled inside me. "Good." Elena's voice trembled. "I don't know what your mother put in that painting, but she told me once, if anything happens to me and Marin starts asking questions, tell her to keep going. No matter what they say." I blinked hard. She added, "So I'm telling you now. Keep going. Don't let them make you doubt it." I promised I would. Before sunrise, I booked a furnished apartment near Lake Travis under a different last name, using a virtual card and burner email. When I arrived, the host had left the key in a lockbox. The moment I stepped inside, I exhaled for what felt like the first time in days. It was small, plain, quiet, clean. I leaned the painting against the wall like it was made of glass. Then I opened Dana Harris's reply. She was in. Video consult. 10 a.m. sharp. That morning, we connected. She looked me dead in the eye through the screen, framed by law books and framed credentials. "This is not small," she said after reviewing the files. "This is massive. Your mother did more than collect evidence. She constructed a legal roadmap. This could justify a full-scale federal investigation." My pulse surged. "So what happens now?" "I've already contacted federal investigators your mother initiated contact with months ago," she said. "They've been waiting for something like this. I'm sending everything in a secure packet now." Then she looked at me, all emotion stripped away. "You are not to meet with your brother or aunt. Not alone. Not ever. You do not give them the original painting. And you keep copies of everything off-site. Do you understand?" I nodded. "Yes." I wanted to throw up, but I understood. Have you ever had to stand up to someone more powerful just because it was the right thing to do? I see you, and I want to know your story. Share it in the comments below. You never know who you might help by being brave. 2 days later, they found me anyway. I didn't tell anyone where I was, but they still knocked on my door. And this time they weren't alone. 2 days later, just after sunrise, someone knocked. Not a soft tap. 3 sharp, deliberate raps on the door. I froze. I hadn't used the company car. Booked this place under a fake last name. Used a burner email and a virtual card. I'd done everything right. Then it hit me, my phone. The one Damien used to pay for before we parted ways. He'd insisted I keep the plan after I moved out. Said it was just in case you get stranded. Location services. Of course. Another knock. Louder. Marin. Damien's voice slid under the door like oil. Open up. We need to talk. I backed away slowly, heart hammering. Then Meredith's voice joined him. Sharp. High, fraying at the edges. You can open the door, or we can make this very unpleasant. I opened a secure call with Dana and Jonathan, hit record on my phone, and left it face up on the table. Then I unlocked the door, but only cracked it, just enough to meet their eyes. Damien looked perfect. Pressed shirt, expensive watch, fake concern smeared across his face like makeup. Meredith stood behind him in a tailored blazer, lips pressed into a bitter line. You found something, he said without greeting, his eyes darting over my shoulder. We need to come in. I blocked the doorway with my body. This is a rental. I'm not allowed unregistered guests. His expression shifted into something between a smirk and a threat. Let's not be dramatic. You took a company asset. Access private systems. I'm here to settle this within the family before it gets messy. Meredith spotted the wrapped painting leaning against the far wall. She shoved past me before I could stop her. There, she hissed. I told you she had it. I stepped back, pulse roaring. You left it to me, I said. It's in the will. Damien scoffed. We left you something to remember, Mom. Not break into encrypted systems. Not misinterpret confidential data you don't even understand. He moved in close, voice low, menacing. Do you have any idea what kind of trouble you're walking into? I looked him dead in the eye. I understand fraud, I whispered. I understand stolen pensions, faked returns, algorithms twisted into scams. And I understand that Mom died carrying this alone because she couldn't trust you. A flash of panic flickered in his eyes, but he masked it with disappointment. She was sick, he said coldly. You know how she got. Paranoid, obsessed. Meredith crossed her arms. You think federal investigators are going to care about a bunch of colored blocks? You're delusional, Marin. You're putting the firm at risk. Our investors. Your investors are already at risk, I shot back. Because you stole from them. Damien sighed like I was a stubborn child. He slipped his hands into his pockets. Here's what's going to happen. You give us the painting and all copies of what you found. In return, we offer a generous settlement. No questions. You walk away. Start that little design studio you always wanted. Or, he leaned in, eyes narrowing. Or you dig in. This gets public. You get painted as the bitter daughter, the unstable one, trying to destroy the firm her father built. You think your name is going to survive that? I looked down at my phone, recording every word. My laptop screen glowed with the tiny green dot from our live call with Dana and Jonathan. You're right, I said. I don't understand everything. That's why I hired people who do. His smile faltered. What does that mean? He asked slowly. It means, I raised my voice, that everything you've said about company assets, private systems, threats, hush money, is being recorded. Right now. Silence hit the room like a crash. Meredith's face turned white, then red. You didn't, she whispered. You didn't bring in outsiders. I didn't have to, I said. Mom did. Months ago. I'm just the one holding the key. As if the universe agreed, another knock came, firm, official. Miss Keller, a voice called. This is Special Agent Carter. We have a warrant for Brooks Investment Group. Please open the door. Damien's face drained of color. You called them here, he hissed. I didn't need to, I said, stepping past him. They've been waiting for this. I opened the door. 2 agents stood on the porch with a local officer behind them. One held a folder with my name on the front. They stepped inside and began collecting evidence. I pointed to the drive, the files, the painting, the letter. I watched Damien get handcuffed, read his rights. Meredith snapped, trying to talk over the agents. They weren't listening. No one was anymore. News spreads fast when the rich fall. Within days, Brooks Investment Group was the headline everywhere. Fraud, tax evasion, conspiracy, whistleblower evidence, massive scheme, national headlines, local shame. I watched it all from yet another temporary apartment, curtains drawn, phone on silent. One article called me a family member who provided key documentation. A footnote in my own story. At the arraignment, Damien looked like a mannequin in a designer suit. He didn't glance at me once. The judge read charge after charge. Wire fraud, securities fraud, conspiracy, millions in restitution, a lifetime ban from the financial world. Meredith took a plea deal. Lost her license, her house, her board positions, the invitations to galas she used to flaunt. Brooks' investment was dismantled, every asset examined, every lie uncovered, the trust in my name, clean. Jonathan met me in his office, tapping a thick folder. Your mother was cautious, he said. She documented every cent. She wanted you protected. I could have taken the money and disappeared, but I didn't. I used part of a trust to create something new. A UX and data design firm in Austin. Tight Shift Studio. We designed dashboards for banks, nonprofits, and credit unions, ones that made risk visible. We said no to clients who felt too slick. We trained retirees and teachers to read financial reports. We gave them power. Elena worked reception. She welcomed everyone with a cup of coffee and a warm voice. We hung Ocean's Whisper in our conference room. One day, she looked up at it and said, "We should get a plaque." What would it say? I asked. She smiled. In memory of rich men's secrets. I laughed. Really laughed. For the first time in a long time. And it hit me. Revenge wasn't the goal. Truth was. Freedom was. And I had both now. Now, if you walk into Tight Shift on a Tuesday, you won't see the storm we came from. You'll see mismatched chairs, coffee stains, sticky notes, and a team building something honest. And one painting on the wall, Ocean's Whisper, a quiet witness to everything that came before. People sometimes ask how I got into this. I tell them the short version. Family secrets, buried truths, and a mother who refused to let her daughter disappear. Tell me in the comments. And if you've dealt with something similar, share your story. You're not alone. Subscribe for more stories about standing your ground and reclaiming your life. Because sometimes, the thing everyone else thinks is worthless, the painting, the quiet child, the overlooked skill, turns out to be the key that unlocks everything. You just have to be brave enough to use it